Like every Pokemon fan out there, I was super excited to see the new trailer for Pokemon Sword and Shield. And of course in that trailer we got the reveal of the new Gen 8 starter Pokemon. And I think they're super cool looking, really cute. But I decided I wanted to make them not so cute. So let's take the Gen 8 starters and turn them into creepy monsters. I'm Pearson of PopCross Studios, and let's jump right in. Admittedly, a bunch of these drawings end up, they're not so much monsters as they are kind of really creepy, angry-looking versions of regular animals in the colors of the Pokemon from Gen 8. So this one ends up looking a lot like, kind of just like a regular rabbit, but real angry looking and in Scorbunny's colors. And I think the best part of this one is the head. Because rabbit teeth, I looked at some reference images of rabbits, and when they're snarling, their teeth can look really, really kind of creepy. And to emphasize that a little bit more, I put a little chip in this monstrous Scorbunny's teeth. And then in terms of the pose, to make it a little bit more menacing, I had it lunging as if it's jumping at someone to bite them. And I made Scorbunny's arms a little bit more human-like and slightly longer and a little bit muscular even. And I put some claws at the end so that, you know, this creature looks like it could really tear into someone. It just looks kind of like a creepy, monstrous, weirdly colored rabbit. It's something that you definitely would not want to run into in the wild. In terms of the rendering, I do a lot of my usual stuff, use color gradients for most of the color of the creature, and then I do a layer of cell shading with a sort of lighter brush than I've been using lately. It's that same one that I used on my Spider-Verse piece, and I've been liking the texture that one's been giving me lately, so I think I'm going to be using it a bit more. Do a couple layers of cell shading, use a couple different brushes to do a bit of lighting, and then of course I do my usual rim lighting, and to finish up, here's what we got for a monstrous, freaky version of Scorbunny. This one ends up being probably the creepiest of the batch, and that's kind of just because chameleons are creepy looking in general, because they've got those big eyes that on the sides of their heads, on those balls that can look in all different directions, and Sobble is pretty chameleon-like. You can tell from, most obviously from his tail, but also he's got those kind of long fingers for grabbing onto trees that chameleons tend to have. And I liked that idea, and I leaned into it a bit more. I gave my version of Sobble kind of long, creepy fingers, and I actually had him climbing along a branch. And then besides that, I just looked at some pictures of actual chameleons and said, okay, let's make this a little bit more real chameleon looking, and then just give it Sobble's colors. So again, I was doing the same kind of thing that I did with Scorbunny, where I'm kind of just turning it into a creepy-ish version of a regular animal that the Pokemon was obviously inspired by. This one I do a bit different stuff with the rendering because Sobble is a chameleon and has no fur, so I got to make him a little bit shinier looking, use slightly different brushes to give him a bit of a sheen, almost ends up looking like he's a little bit wet. And I think it's one of my favorite kinds of rendering, which is probably why I end up liking this one so much. But also I just really like the long, gangly legs. That, like, those creepy chameleon legs are just so eerie, especially the way the back legs kind of stick out awkwardly. I just think it's fun and creepy and ugh looking. Anyway, coming up on the end, so here is what we got for my creepy monstrous version of Sobble. Now we've got Grookey, and admittedly, this is the one that I got the idea for this episode from. When I saw Grookey first, I looked at that Pokemon and said, this character looks really cute and fun and happy. What would happen if I turned it into a freaky chimpanzee or something like out of Planet of the Apes? And I just ran with that idea. I actually first, you saw earlier, I tried roughing out a more gorilla-ish shape for the character, but I didn't really like that so much because Grookey looks a little bit smaller, a bit more, not all the way to a gorilla, like a smaller ape kind of character. I don't really know what qualifies as an ape, but I ended up looking at some reference images of characters from Planet of the Apes and used that as the reference for this character, and I think that works a lot better for my creepy animal-ish rendering of Grookey. One of my favorite parts of this one is the face, both the expression, the kind of creepy chimpanzee roar, snarl with the mouth open, and then I end up putting a claw scratch through one of the eyes, like in one of the most recent Planet of the Apes movies. I forget which character it is. It's the evil-ish ape in the second of the reboot movies. Wow, there's been a lot of those movies. Anyway, one of them has a claw scratch through the eye, and I thought that was a fun idea, so I put that on this character to make him look a little bit creepier, scarier, edgier. And also, in terms of the pose of this one, it's probably my favorite pose of the characters I do in this episode, because it's just very Spider-Man-like. And anyone who watches this channel a bunch knows that I love drawing characters in Spider-Man-like poses, just nimble and leaping and attacking, and any kind of Spider-Man-ish pose is fun for me. I also really like how the tail looks on this one. I started off thinking the tail was going to be smaller, but then I made it a bunch bigger, and I think it works really well. And overall, I don't like the rendering on this one quite as much as the other two, but in terms of the pose and the expression, I think I've probably said all of them are my favorite. I don't know, I liked how all of these turned out. Anyway, here's what we got for a creepy, monstrous version of Grookey. Well, overall, I'd say that was a successful venture. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you want more Pokemon drawing and animation content, I've got a bunch more. Earlier this week, I did a mashup of Pokemon cards and Magic cards. You can check that one out. I've also done an animation of Pokemon as a side-scroller, and I've got lots of other cool superhero and monster drawing kind of stuff, so subscribe for plenty more of this nonsense. Alright, everybody, I will see you next week. Goodbye.